So last week there were a series of patents in Japan that were made public about the Switch 2, and people combed through those and we dissected some of the information that came from those. However, there seems to be an aspect about the Switch 2 that was missed. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now I didn't make a video about all these patents. They covered a lot of the stuff that we already knew, like how there's basically this little attachment that would go onto the Joy-Con in order to use it like a mouse, which we've already talked about. There was also what looked to be a Joy-Con charger where you could just lay the Joy-Con in that mouse orientation and charge it without having to hook it back to the system. And the main focus that came through most of these patents was the reveal of the mouse mode for the Switch 2, and we've pretty much covered that already, so I didn't feel a need to cover that again. However, there was something that seemed to have been missed that a lot of people are picking up on now. And I saw this first from VGC. You can see the headline here. It says, a Switch 2 patent suggests its Joy-Con controls can be rotated. So what does that really mean? Well, it appears that you can basically attach the Joy-Cons to the opposite side of the system and use it upside down. And we have a translation of that patent here from VGC. It says, the user can use the game system by mounting the right controller and the left controller on opposite sides of the main body device. According to this, the user can use the game system in such a manner that the components become a favorable arrangement. So what does that mean? Well, they expand on that here. For example, the user can use the game system so that the upper and lower sides of the main body device are opposite to each other, such that the voice input-output connector on the upper surface of the main body device is located below the main body device. It's basically referring to the headphone jack. That is, the user can insert an earphone into the voice input-output connector from the preferred direction. So let's say you're using the Switch in handheld mode and you want to hook up a wired headphone to the system. Putting it on the top might be kind of aggravating because the cord might want to go across the screen or lay across your arms. And you can see from the image here in the patent, they show basically the system being upside down, and you basically now would have that headphone jack and the cartridge slot on the lower side of the system. Now, one other thing that VGC suggests here is that by flipping the system over, that USB-C port would now be in the center of the system. So if you did have something like a camera attached to it, it'd be a little more centered to the screen, which would be a little more intuitive, especially if you're doing some type of video chat. So now you may wonder, how would the Switch 2 Joy-Cons be able to communicate if they're on the opposite side with the pinout line up? Well, if you look at the port here on the Switch 2, you can see there's only one side of the port, as well as on the input for the Joy-Cons, that has pins on it. So my thought is, let's say on the left side you have, let's see, it looks like 13 pins, and they're numbered, let's say 1 to 13 going from the top to the bottom. But then if you go over to the right side, you number those pins from the bottom to the top, so that as the Joy-Con flips over, the pinout would be correct. And then that right Joy-Con would have the opposite pinout on it as well, so when it flips over, it would be in alignment for the opposite side of the system. If you notice, the Joy-Cons are pretty much symmetric about both the X and the Y axis here. Basically, if you go to the center, you mirror it and it looks exactly the same any direction you go. So I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to physically connect the Joy-Con to the opposite side. Many people had wondered, oh, maybe the magnetism would reject it, and you've got matching poles and would prevent you from being able to attach the Joy-Con to the opposite side. However, in those patents that came out last week, it looks like there's just a magnet in the Joy-Cons themselves and not one in the system. So your system just basically has a metal strip for the magnets to attach to. So you wouldn't have anything basically like putting a North Pole to a North Pole in order to prevent the Joy-Cons from attaching to the wrong side. But let me know your thoughts below. Do you think the Joy-Cons will be able to attach to the opposite side of the system, basically letting you flip the Switch 2 over? And aside from having that USB-C port in the center now on the top and having the headphone jack on the bottom, can you think of any other advantage for basically having your Switch 2 playable in an upside down state? Drop your comments below and let me know your thoughts. And if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.